Hi, I'm attorney Tanya Stewart, and welcome back to the Turning Point Summit, how to use the hardest times in your life to create the exact life you want in 30 days. I am excited, and I'm always excited, but this one's special for me. We are here today with Dr. Zach, and he is basically the founder of HCG 2.0. Now, if you have any issue with weight loss, okay, stop what you're doing, get your pen, get your paper, because this is solution time. This is 30-day solution time. When I said to you that we're going to change your life in 30 days, this is one of those interviews that's going to change your life in 30 days. So I want you to listen very closely. We're going to explain to you his background, his credentials. We're going to explain to you how HCG works and how he's managed to improve it because he's brilliant. And you'll hear from me because I lost 20 pounds doing this and it stayed off and it's changed my life. So I'm super excited. Welcome to you, Dr. Zach.
Thank you for the great introduction, Tanya. I might have to put that onto my homepage.
Oh, you're sweet. You're
So
sweet.
it's nice. I appreciate that.
Okay. Now, what kind of doctor are you?
I am a doctor of chiropractic. I've been practicing for about 7 years. I'm also a fellow of the American Society of Acupuncture.
Wow.
I've always had a fascination with holistic medicine. As a kid growing up, I had some back issues. I grew a little bit too fast, so chiropractic worked for me. So I've always had an interest in it. Ultimately, completed chiropractic school, started a practice, and one thing led to another, and here I am writing books on weight loss.
Look at you. Okay, well, we can clearly see just looking at your head and shoulders that you have no issue with weight loss. So what attracted you to weight loss? I mean, is there some picture lurking in your past where you're the super huge guy? What's going on with that?
Not really. When I opened up my practice in St. Louis, the practice was located below a high-end salon. And so my clientele kind of began to slowly kind of gear towards, middle-aged women that were going into the salon. And they always had questions about weight loss, about nutrition. So at that time, I really didn't have a lot of answers. So I started doing some research, and I stumbled onto this HCG diet, which has actually been in existence for 60 years. The original protocol was published back in 1954. So this isn't some like fad weight loss. It's been around for a long time. It's got a good track record, a lot of longevity. So I did some research, and I started incorporating that protocol into my practice. And from there, it just I began tweaking things here and there, because you have to understand, medicine is called a practice for a reason. It's because new technology is developed, new protocols, and the treatment protocols always evolve for the better. And so I began to slowly kind of tweak up this old program, and ultimately it kind of snowballed into this HCG 2.0. And to be quite honest, I really had no intention of publishing this as a book, but I had so many patients that were doing well with it that it was kind of my patients that suggested that I go this self-publishing route and publish this as a book. And I ultimately did that in 2013, and things have just really taken off from there. It's kind of becoming the industry standard for HCG weight loss.
That is huge. Now, for people that don't know, because I'm sure there's some people tuning in who don't understand HCG. So can you take us back to that original 1954 protocol and explain it? Because there's some people who think you're injecting a chemical or you're doing some kind of chemical thing to your body and it's really bad for you.
Yeah, absolutely. There are there are a lot of negative connotations when it comes to HCG, but if you let me break it down for a second, there are really no side effects whatsoever, because if you think about it, HCG is produced by a woman's placenta during pregnancy. So each and every one of us have been exposed to huge concentrations of HCG while we were in the womb. And I like to think we all turned out pretty good. So there really aren't a lot of negative side effects to the HCG hormone. But to get back to your question, the diet originally developed with this doctor named Dr. Simeons and he started practicing this actually in the late 40s. He was kind of a pandemic expert, so that sent him to different parts of the world where he studied, medicine in often third world countries. And he was really astonished by the fact that very malnourished women could still give birth to healthy, full-weight babies. And he was really curious about this. It didn't seem to make much sense. So in researching this, he discovered this hormone HCG that's produced by the placenta during pregnancy. And typically, as a species, the human body wants to retain fat. Retain calories in the form of fat. It's kind of a primitive defense mechanism against long winters, famine, conditions that really don't bother us today.
Right.
But you got to understand that the first million or so years of human evolution, we were dealing with a shortage of calories.
Right.
And in the last 100 years, we've suddenly had to deal with an abundance of calories. And our body's not caught up yet. So we're still trying to pack away all these calories in the form of fat. So when it comes to dieting, not only are you battling, your sweet tooth and your time constraints on eating and things like that, but you're really battling your body's predisposition to want to retain calories in the form of fat.
Wow.
So, however, now when a woman gets pregnant, this physiology gets completely flipped upside down because that growing baby needs a 24/7 calorie supply. I mean, just as the baby needs a 24/7 oxygen supply, it needs a 24/7 calorie supply. So the placenta produces the HCG, which stands for human chorionic gonadotropin, and the effect of this HCG is on a gland in your brain called the hypothalamus.
Right.
And the hypothalamus, it's a long, funny word, but what it actually does, amongst many things, is it kind of governs and regulates your thyroid. Mm-hmm. So the HCG reacts with the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus tells the thyroid to start releasing all this stored fat that we tend to want to store away as that defense mechanism. So the baby can be provided with a 24/7 calorie source. Now, in the absence of a pregnancy, if you supplement that hormone, even in very small doses, right, it does the same thing for you. So we can drop your caloric intake down, supplement the HCG, and the HCG tells your body to start metabolizing all this stored fat so you can use this stored fat as energy.
So basically, it's like it goes in there and it flips a switch that says, I know you really want to store your fat, but right now for this temporary situation, we can go ahead and burn it.
It's exactly right. And rather than, as a pregnant woman would give those calories to the baby, you can use those calories as your own. Yeah, and it's safe for both men and women. And in fact, it works even better for men than it does for women. Men lose weight almost sometimes 1 to 2 pounds a day. It's not uncommon at all for men to lose that kind of weight on this diet.
Now, let me ask that question that men are thinking, well, wait a second. This is women. This is pregnancy. This is girls. This is placentas. Is this a problem for men to be taking HCG purposefully? Is that an issue?
No, not at all. And again, I go back to the fact that and I mentioned this in the book, and I actually list out the concentration of HCG during pregnancy. Mm-hmm. All the men everywhere have been exposed to enormous amounts of HCG in the womb. There are really no side effects to it. So, no, the diet is very safe for both men and women.
Okay, well, this is awesome. So, and I know that when I've talked to my coaching clients, I kind of explained to them that, we're just designed to not burn our fat. And we have to actually affirmatively do something to convince our body to do it differently because it thinks we are starving. So so let's talk about that, because some people will say they've heard the calorie intake on the original protocol is usually 500 calories a day. So Correct. What if somebody just says, well, I'm super disciplined. I'm just going to eat 500 calories a day. I'm not going to screw with the HCG, just eat 500 calories a day. What's going to happen for them?
Well, that really all depends. And that is one of the first things that I tweaked up about this diet. It didn't make sense to me that the diet was a 500-calorie diet for both men and women, both big and small, both old and young, because we're all different. And we all have different amounts of muscle mass. And it's really important to maintain muscle mass while losing weight. In fact, typically with a typical weight loss plan without HCG, your body will actually attack muscle and break down muscle before it will attack your fat. Yes. So you're not losing in the areas that you want it to. So what the HCG does more than anything is it targets your weight loss and allows you to maintain muscle mass while strictly losing unwanted fat.
Let me say that again because that was really important for everybody to hear. If you've ever tried dieting where you've just been really, really restrictive, I've read his book, so I sound all intelligent. I got this information from him. Yeah. There's your normal fat, and then there's your structural fat, and then there's your unwanted, crazy, it just won't leave my butt fat, and your gut fat. And when your body burns it in that order. So if you don't do something special, it's going to go to structural fat and muscle second. It'll burn everything except for the fat that is keeping you out of your good genes before it burns that fat.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. And so there's a flashy word that you might have heard. I know I mentioned a lot in the book, and most people have heard. It's called ketosis.
Yeah.
So what ketosis is that's when you deprive yourself of carbohydrates are like the gasoline that fuels us.
Okay.
They break down very simply, and that's a carb is what's converted into glucose, which makes ATP energy. So if you deprive yourself of carbs for a long enough period of time, you do tap into that unwanted fat.
Okay.
But that's very difficult to do, and it can be very taxing on the liver, and that's what the HCG does. It facilitates this process of ketosis. It makes it a lot simpler to maintain and a lot simpler for our body to operate at a more optimal level of ketosis.
Well, I'll translate for you then. So basically, you're trying to get to, ketosis is a fancy word for the state that the body is in where it's burning that unwanted fat. And you can get there by shutting down your carbs, because if you take out the normal source of fuel, the body is like looking around like, what am I going to eat? And if you're doing it the right way, it'll go ahead and basically you're going to eat your own fat. It's going to convert it. Is that right?
That very well put. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
So, however, one of the problems with the original diet was that it was only a 500 calorie diet, and it was very high in carbs. It's really odd because, keep in mind this was developed back in the 1950s, so there really wasn't even basic food chemistry.
Right.
So there was a very specific, there were some very specific vegetable choices, some very specific protein choices that you could have on this diet. You could also have fruit, either an apple or an orange, which is obviously very high in carbs. Yeah. There were root vegetables on the diet, which, like an onion. And so with the original diet, you would kind of fluctuate in and out of ketosis. And even with the help of the HCG, you were never really, on a day-to-day basis, you might not be in a very good level of ketosis. And number one, that doesn't facilitate good weight loss. And number two, it actually makes you hungrier. When you're consuming more carbs and you slip out of ketosis, you're not being supplied with those ketone calories from stored fat. So your body says that you're hungry. However, if you're in a very optimal state of ketosis, your body reacts to those ketone calories from stored fat just as it does a meal. It tells your brain that you're satiated, you feel less hunger, and it makes the diet a lot smoother, and you also lose a lot more weight on this protocol.
And let me get that so people can really follow this. When you are on the HCG 2.0 protocol, you're actually not hungry. Like when you're doing this correctly, you're actually not hungry. Your body tells you you're hungry when it doesn't have enough fuel, but as long as you're in ketosis, which is our fancy word for burning our stored fat, as long as you're in the ketosis, your body is happy because it has something to eat. So what he's talking about is the original HCG protocol, which I actually did. A little over 3.5 years ago, I actually did the original diet. And it was harder. And I can tell you that I did eat carbs. I had brown rice. I had an apple every day. And in the back of my head, I thought, I wonder why it's okay for me to be having these extra carbs.
Right.
It was harder.
Yeah, it's definitely harder. And that's one of the reasons. And something else that never added up about the original diet is, like I said, the 500 calories for all dieters. So what I did is I used a BMR calculation, and BMR stands for basal metabolic rate. These are the amount of calories the body needs on a daily basis to maintain normal at-rest function.
Okay, that's sitting down calories. This is the number of calories I'll burn if I'm just at my desk working. I'm not running a marathon, just breathing and working.
Exactly. Okay. Keep in mind, your heart beats all day long. It takes a lot of calories. A big muscle takes a lot of calories. Your kidneys are filtering blood all day long. Mm-hmm. Your liver, manufacturing enzymes, everything, that takes a lot of calories. Okay. So what I do with this diet is we use a BMR calculation to determine how many protein calories you can have on this diet. Mm-hmm. Because something else about weight loss, if you're not being supplied with an adequate amount of protein, the body doesn't like it. It doesn't react well. And it actually starts to tap into protein to provide calories, that you're not being supplemented with. Okay. So using this BMR calculation, it makes the diet sustainable for both a 5'2" older woman and a 6'5" younger man, 300-pound man. So everything fits more according to body size, body mass, age, and gender with this diet. and it's very individualized to each and every dieter, and that makes a really big difference in weight loss and success.
The important part to know about that is what he's saying is that it's custom. The original HCG protocol was 500 calories for everybody, and I don't know about you, but I'm 5'10", and I'm a runner. So when I did the original protocol, I was talking to this doctor's office, and they literally they kind of did what you did. They altered it for me because I complained, because I said 500 calories is ridiculous for me. You have some woman in the lobby and she's 5'1", she might survive on 500 calories. It's not going to work for me. And they literally, the doctor manually adjusted it for me. But it's one of those things where this actually lets you do it yourself. There's a nice little calculation in his book. You just get your calculator, you put your numbers in, and then it tells you how many actual calories you can have a day. And that can vary from that set 500 because it takes into account your height, your weight, and your stuff. So it's more comfortable.
Exactly. Yeah, and I also have a BMR calculator on my website, and then there's a mobile app for it too to make it really simple for everybody.
Yay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I have to tell you, I really did experience, I mean, this is the reason that I sought you out. It was a huge difference for me from the first, when I found you literally the night before I was praying. It was the night before I was going to start, I was going to redo the old protocol again. I was like, oh gosh, I needed to redo it. I was just anxious. I was going to do it, and I was going to do it gritting my teeth. That's literally how when you do it the old-fashioned way, it's just, I would say white knuckle, but my knuckles are a little darker. But yeah, I was white knuckling it. I was just like, I'm just going to suck it up and push through.
Before,
Yeah, and I found your protocol, and I was like, wait a second, this is, oh my gosh, this is different, this is better, and I literally got your book. It was like 1 a.m, and I'm blowing through it on Amazon, and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm doing tomorrow morning. So this is a huge, huge difference in a way to lose weight rapidly.
Yeah. Let me talk a little about, you're familiar with the loading phase of the HCG diet.
Yes.
And that's something that a lot of people overlook and don't do properly. And if you don't load properly, you're not going to get the exaggerated results that's typical of the HCG diet. And what I mean by exaggerated results is it's not uncommon for a woman to lose, 7 to 10 pounds in the first week, sometimes more. I've had women lose 16 pounds in the first week. And people are always posting this to our private Facebook group.
Yes.
But the key to that early success is the loading phase. And what that is you want to overconsume on fatty foods for the first 2 days of the diet. And I mean really overconsume, almost eat to the point of nauseousness, nausea. And I'll tell you why. Because the human body is much smarter than what we give it credit for. So if you're typically consuming a 2,000 to 2,500 to 3,000 calorie a day diet, and you suddenly flip a switch and drop that down to 700 or 800, maybe 1,000, it's really alarming to the system, and the body perceives a shortage of food. And so it actually begins to behave more efficiently with its calories to make it very difficult to lose weight. However, if you load properly and load up on all these heavy fats, that causes a spike in your liver enzymes. If you've ever had a blood test for a life insurance policy, they tell you to watch what you eat a couple days prior to the diet. Don't drink a lot of alcohol, because if you do, that can cause an immediate spike in your liver enzymes, and you can get rated up on your insurance policy. Kind of same thing here. When you overconsume on all these fatty foods, it causes those liver enzymes to spike, and it ends up bypassing this starvation mode. And starvation mode is when your body becomes more health conscious, more conscious of survival, and starts to store away calories even more efficiently than it did before. So loading is an extremely important part of this diet. You want to overconsume on as many fats as possible. And it's best to get a good ratio of omega-3s to omega-6s. So if you're eating a lot of junk like, the dairy, the cheeses, the animal fats and things like that, have a couple of like avocado meals, some fish, some salmon, get a good ratio of those omega-3 fats to omega-6 fats. Carbs are okay on the loading phase, but you really want to focus on fats and overconsume on fats, because that's what's going to get your liver enzymes to spike. And really important part of this diet.
I will tell you that the blessing in finding you right before, because I found you the night before I started my loading. And
Yeah.
your loading is what I refer to as a clean loading, which is to say in
Yeah.
the original protocol, and for people who aren't familiar with HCG, you're loading in the first 2 days. You're literally almost just binge eating all this food because you're preparing your body to get through the first couple days where the HCG is coming into your system and it gets itself going. Now,
Yeah.
the trick is under the old protocol, I was eating sugar. I was eating fat. I was eating carbs. I was eating everything. I just thought I just
Yeah.
had to eat a lot of stuff. So the difference with yours was the cleaner load. So I was paying attention to what I was eating. I was trying not to eat so many carbs. I was trying to really focus on the fats. I discovered, by the way, that dairy cream is really the way to get a high content of fat. I promise you,
Yeah.
I made homemade ice cream. I was like,
There
hey,
you go.
but I was one of those women who had a very successful instant weight loss. I think I lost probably 6 pounds almost immediately
Yeah.
because I ate, it was 4,120 calories on average my first 2 days for my load.
Yeah.
It was I'm telling you, it was very difficult. It
Yeah.
was hard to eat that many calories. He's correct that
Uh-huh.
you're stuffed and you really have to focus on continuing to eat whenever you think of eating. And that
Yeah.
is literally part of the discipline, that beginning discipline, because you're getting your body prepared to drop down, sneak the HCG in, and get
Yeah.
going. So
And just to kind of recap what you said. So the cleaner load is a bit better because if you're doing all the sugars, you're going to have to detox from those sugars,
yeah,
and generally you're probably eating sugars prior to that, and that's the biggest problem with the diet is that it's not the HCG that can cause headaches and things like that. It's often it's the detox from the sugars and some of the other stuff that you've been consuming in your diet. Um, so again with the loading, don't overlook that part. Too many people overlook the loading. They think if they skip it, they'll lose more weight faster, but it's absolutely not true. The loading is very critical to the diet.
now can you tell people who are not familiar, what is it that we're not eating on the HCG protocol? What's on the no-go list?
Yeah.
Or what are we eating?
Primarily carbs is kind of a no-no, so we keep the carbs under 30 grams per day. And so there are a lot of different theories out there and calculations on what maintains a good level of ketosis. You might remember the Atkins diet. That was
Yes.
pretty popular.
I wanted to ask
And
you
the
about
Atkins
that.
diet, the Atkins diet actually worked, but it's not sustainable because it didn't really distinguish between good fats and bad fats. There was a lot of inflammatory products on that diet, like dairy, because it gave you the green light for all the dairy that you wanted. So it just wasn't, it worked to lose weight, but it's not a sustainable diet. And so with the Atkins, they would give you, they would say 20 carbs per day is what they would limit you at, and that would maintain a good level of ketosis. There are other theories out there that would say, take your weight in pounds and divide by 2, and that would be the number of carbs that would keep you in ketosis. Just completely anecdotal, trial and error things that I've come up with. 30 grams of carbs per day seems like a pretty legit amount for everyone across the board as far as maintaining a good level of ketosis. So you want to keep your carbs under 30 grams per day. And when it comes to fats have earned a really negative connotation, in the nutritional world. Our body actually needs fats, all sorts of fats. Your body needs fats to make steroid hormones, to make cellular membranes, skin needs a lot of fats. So our body actually needs fats. But however, if the goal is weight loss, we have to limit those. So the diet, HCG 2.0 consists of an adequate amount of protein to maintain muscle mass, very limited amount of fats, and a very limited amount of carbs.
I can tell you that my carbs were extremely low every day. I was below 14, I was 12, 13, 14, 15 carbs a day I averaged. And it was funny because once you get into it, your body adjusts. I really discovered, and something you said in your book, which was special to me, it was important. So for those of you out there that came from a background like me where you really weren't big vegetable people, he said something brilliant in his book. He said, you know what? If you keep eating it, you'll develop a taste for it and your body will get used to it. And it's true. I promise you now that I will eat spinach raw out of a bag. Like I'll just walk through a grocery store, I will pull a leaf of spinach, pop it in my mouth and chew it. Broccoli, greens, things that I really avoided previously it's like my body started getting used to them, and it's like, wait, no, we want that. That's good fuel. And that was a
Yeah.
surprise for me. That was a big discovery.
Well, yeah, taste is an acquired sense.
That's it. That's the
So,
phrase.
yeah, the more you eat of healthy foods, the more you're going to enjoy them. And if you don't believe me, everyone does something different with it. If you're someone that has to have a bit of sugar with your morning coffee or a sugar supplement or, with your morning coffee or your morning tea, go without it. Within 3 to 4 days, you will not miss it. That's an absolute fact. I did that myself just a couple of summers ago. I was always one that would have, a pack of stevia with my tea or with my coffee in the morning. And yeah, honestly, God, it took me the first day I went without my stevia. It was miserable. Second day, pretty miserable. Third, fourth day, I didn't miss it. It really doesn't take that long to retrain you and to retrain your sense of taste.
I'm proud because I was just doing an interview with a detox expert, and she busted me on my stevia. She's like, it's not that stevia is bad. It's that you're habituating your brain to like the sweetness. So I promised I would try to do it. And so this mug has tea in it with no stevia. So I'm all proud of myself. So,
Yeah.
yay.
And here's what I'll say about the sugar substitute is while you're on the low calorie phase of the diet, if you want to go ahead and incorporate some sugar substitutes, be my guest. Let's just lose the weight first, and then we'll work on your sugar substitute habit. Because, of course, when you get to the end of the diet, everyone says, am I going to maintain my weight loss?
Okay.
And my answer is always the same. If you go back to your old eating habits, then no, absolutely not. You really have to retrain yourself. And the first step in doing that is addressing the habits that necessitated a weight loss program to begin with. And so you address those, you change those, and then you can really look forward to some sustainable weight loss.
Well, I will tell you for any of the people listening, if you want to take a look at this, I actually noted a pattern. I was using, I think it's called sparkpeople.com, which is one of those online calorie trackers, which is what I use. It was very helpful for me with my HCG because I could enter my calories minutely and track everything. And they've had my records for so many years. I was able to look and see I have a 3-year weight gain cycle. Like, I don't know if you've ever noticed this or I was like, it wasn't in the book, but I noticed it. I'm like, wait a second. It seems like I will do something, I will buckle down, I will lose the weight, and then I'll not pay attention, and after 3 years or so, I'll have gained the weight back, and then I had to do it again. So that was me on the original HCG protocol, and then me coming around this past summer to do your protocol. So now I'm being mindful of it because I don't want to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the ideal. Lose the weight and keep it on. Yeah.
Well, I found that your protocol, the biggest difference that I would say, the biggest praise I can give is that maybe about 7, 8, 9, 10 days in, I didn't feel like I was being punished. I didn't feel like I was suffering. It's like, yeah, I look forward to getting on to the next phases of it, but suddenly I realized that this was my new life, that this was a change of lifestyle, that I was not doing a diet so I could lose weight and then try to go back to what I was doing. I was actually going to change my lifestyle and maintain what I was doing because I liked the results, I liked how I felt, and that was a huge difference for your HCG 2.0. I wanted to thank you for that.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad you did well on it. And just to kind of elaborate on that, weight loss it's not just about eliminating things from your diet. Mm-hmm. It's about adding the proper nutrition that the body requires. Mm-hmm. If you have a diet full of carbs, which is the standard American diet, which is appropriately acronymed SAD, it's very heavy in carbs and fuel. And the thing about that is we're getting the fuel that the body needs, but it's completely absent and void of all nutrition that the body needs. So your body's still craving that proper nutrition, so it's still hungry. So you eat a big, heavy carb meal, you pack on the carbs go directly to fat, and then 15 minutes later, you're still hungry because your body wants that nutrition. It wants the phytonutrients from plants, fruits and vegetables. It wants the variety of essential amino acids that you get from different proteins. It wants the healthy fats. It wants both the omega-3 fats and the omega-6 fats. And if you're just supplying, junk, fuel that you can eat and that you're consuming quickly because we're all very busy, you're obviously going to put on weight. So when it comes to ideal weight loss, Not only do you want to cut out the fuel, you want to give the body what it needs, the proper nutrition, so it's not craving that all the time. And that's what helps, regulate a skewed satiety response.
I think you just said something like brilliant. So I have to really get people to pay attention to this. Consider the idea that you've eaten and you're hungry again, not because you're actually hungry. You're hungry because you did not give your body what it needed. It would be like if you had a baby and the baby is hungry and you handed it a steak. The baby would still be hungry. The baby would still be crying because you gave it something that it couldn't use for its own fuel. So your body is still waving, I'm hungry, because it can't articulate that it needs the vitamins and the nutrients and the things that you're not giving it. That is a really big ideological breakthrough for me.
It is, yeah. Most people assume when it comes to dieting, it's a matter of just eliminating things. That's not true. It's a matter of giving your body the proper nutrition that it needs. And again, the phytonutrients that you get, phytonutrition is plant-based nutrition, the nutrition that you get from fruits and vegetables. And it needs an adequate amount of protein to maintain muscle mass and those essential amino acids that come in, a variety of your different protein choices. And then it needs fats. It absolutely needs fats. Like I said before, to produce the steroid hormones, a variety of different things. So if you give the body what it wants, it's going to kind of regulate a skewed satiety response, which most of us have because we're still on that standard American diet, which is nothing but fuel, but very void of nutrition.
Wow. Now this pops in my head because you mentioned fruits. What about the big argument people have about fruits? Because they're really high in fructose. Like bananas are high in sugar, apples are high in sugar. Of course, those are my two favorite fruits.
Sure.
And that was something that was different on your protocol than Dr. Simmons. I had an apple a day with, kept my doctor away. An apple a day with the Dr. Simeon's protocol. And on yours, I did forego the fruit because that was part of the protocol. And I forewent the fruit and I lost my 20 pounds. And then I slowly added it back in later. But for people who are in the back end phase, what do you think about fruit consumption and the level of fructose?
We're kind of talking about two different things. When it comes to weight loss,
okay,
unfortunately, I hate telling patients not to eat fruit, but when it comes to weight loss, and if we want to shed weight as quickly as possible, the fruit has to go because it's too high in sugar. Okay. Now, obviously, when it comes to children and things like that, give them all the fruit that they want. That they need that carbs, they need that energy. But as adults, we don't quite need all the carbs and the energy that come from the fruit. But what we do need is the nutrition that the fruit provides. And most of the time, the nutrition in a fruit is in the colorful skins that go around the fruit. So what I tell to most patients is kind of vary up your fruit choices. So go for smaller berries that have, more surface area of nutrition and less sugar. So, berries, blueberries, raspberries, grapes, all those sorts of things. That's a better fruit option than going with a banana or, a big apple or something like that. And certainly if you're going to do the apple, don't peel it because then you're not getting any of the nutrition. You're just getting the sugar.
The sugar.
Yeah. And so that's what I would say. And, when it comes to weight loss, it's up, you just have to eliminate those sugars for that or the fruit for your 30 to 40 days and then start to reintroduce it slowly. But again, you're better off burying the fruit, going with, fruit that's, greater surface area in the skin of the fruit rather than the heart of the fruit, the sugar consumption that's in a fruit.
Now, what would you tell people about their mindset? I mean, how are we approaching, our weight loss?
Okay, what I would say when it comes to their mindset is that do your research, do your due diligence, but don't second guess yourself. If something makes sense to you and you think it's going to work for you, pick it and go with it and follow through with it.
Gotcha.
And whether that's the HCG diet or something else that might be out there, stick with it and follow through with it. And something else that's really key, and that's why I'm a big fan of using supplements when it comes to weight loss. And maybe it's not HCG, maybe it's some other supplement. There's, the raspberry ketone diet. There are other like metabolic support diets. And it's not necessarily what's in the supplement. It's the fact that the supplement is a temporary thing. And so you can see the supplement and say to yourself, okay, I'm halfway through, I'm 3/4 the way through, I'm almost done. Because generally what happens if someone says, I have 20 pounds to lose, it's very open-ended.
Right.
And there's no telling when that 20 pounds is going to fall off.
Right.
They probably don't have a real plan going into it. So it often ends up where they quit after a week or 2 weeks. They might lose 5 or 10 pounds, and then it never perpetuates itself to the end.
Right.
And so that's where a supplement diet really works good. It's not just what's in the supplement. It's the fact that you have a very specific time frame that you're going to be on this diet. You have a very specific set of instructions on what to do on a daily basis, and that's what leads to success with weight loss. So, again, whether you're choosing my protocol, the original protocol, maybe a completely different diet whatsoever, do your research, find something that's going to work for you, and don't second guess yourself through it, and stick to it to the end. And what's really important is, and I'm speaking more as with HCG 2.0 here, is while you're on the low-calorie phase of this diet, you really need to reflect upon what it was prior that necessitated this diet. Do you have a busy schedule? Do you not have time to cook properly or shop, the perimeters at the grocery store? Do you have a sweet tooth? Do you have a job where you're entertaining a lot, which is quite common? Do you find yourself eating the same snacks that you're packing for your kids' school lunch? Those are the things that you need to address while you're on the low-calorie phase of this diet if you want real sustainable weight loss. And that's the best advice that I can give.
And see, that's very much kind of a the Western versus Eastern medicine thing, looking at the actual root cause of a problem versus just solving it or reducing the symptoms. So when people, I think, diet, they're addressing the symptom, which is, okay, I have this weight, I'm going to lose this weight. And then they lose the weight doing whatever they do. And then it comes back because they didn't actually remove the cause that triggered the weight gain in the beginning. So what I hear you saying is that, we really shouldn't take the shortcut. We really need to sit and consider, what is going on in my life and in my world that gave me these 20 pounds. I didn't just wake up 20 pounds heavier.
Well, and in fact, there is no shortcut. There is no shortcut. The only sustainable weight loss is from, a smart reduction in calories and exercise. That's really all that there is when it comes to sustainable weight loss.
But we want the easy button. We want
yes, everybody.
What about these things that people you see them on TV all the time, and it's like the super fat burner 17,000 with whatever in it. Do those work? I mean, do those do something?
A lot of those, what they are is they're like over-the-counter amphetamines with some diuretics involved. So, the amphetamine kind of diminishes your appetite, and then the diuretic causes you to void fluids. Right. So you do see a bit of a decrease in weight on the scale, but again, it's not anything that's sustainable. Yeah.
I gotcha. Okay, so that
Yep.
works. And so I'm curious, what has been people's biggest challenge in completing HCG that you've come across? What's the thing that stops them from doing it?
A lot of it has to do with making the time to actually do this diet appropriately. And what I mean by making the time to eat healthy, you have to, number one, go to the grocery store.
Yes.
Shop the perimeters. I mean, that's number one. Number two, you actually have to take the time to prepare your meals.
Yes.
And number three, eating is something you do on a daily basis. You have to make it the number one priority in your life and in the life of your kids. So, and that's, if people can make the time to eat healthy and make it a proper priority and maybe adjust your family budget accordingly, that's going to be the biggest key to success. So if people don't do that, they're going to have a hard time with this diet because it's not something that you can kind of just wing it. You wake up, you don't have anything prepared. You're going to go eat something quickly, something prepackaged, something very processed,
yes.
and you're going to quickly, kind of slip out of the protocol. And once you go a couple days out of the protocol, it's likely that you're not going to jump back on.
I can tell you
So
that
take time.
one big change in my life was that when I did the original protocol, I learned to cook because I had to stop eating things in packages. I actually had to learn to cook, and I'm actually now a really good cook. I mean, this was huge. Go ahead.
Yeah, you said there you learn to cook.
I did.
You learn. So, and one of the biggest criticisms about my book is that it doesn't contain any recipes or enough recipes.
Oh.
And there's a reason I didn't put those recipes in there. You've heard the phrase, give a man a fish, he eats for a day.
Yeah.
Teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime.
Yeah.
So what I tried to do with HCG 2.0 is actually teach people how to eat. Teach people, that actually preparing a meal is kind of a necessity to maintaining a healthy lifestyle. So what some of the people that want to do a shortcut on this diet, they want to be told exactly what to eat. They want a list of recipes. And I'm afraid that you're just not going to have success doing that. You really have to kind of learn and put things together and educate yourself on how to eat properly rather than just reading a grocery list and putting things together. It's just not the way to do the diet. You really need to educate yourself and learn how to cook and prepare your foods.
I get it. It's funny that you said that because that makes sense because I learned. I innovated, The first time that I figured out that you can take kale and make like kale chips out of it and you can sprinkle onion powder on it or you can sprinkle cinnamon on it. I was just like, oh, I have something crunchy to eat. I'm like, I have something crunchy to eat and it's awesome. I mean, this was a really big deal for my life to start eating clean and cooking clean. And I think you're right. It made me have to take responsibility, the big R word, for my health. When you're on the protocol, what I tell people that I've been helping with and coaching through is you cook in batches. So I would get 2 pounds of chicken, I would season it, I would cook it all, I would measure it, and it's all in baggies. If you looked in my refrigerator, you would see all these little pre-measured protein pouches. I would have my chicken, I'd have my ground turkey, I would have my salmon, and it's all in there ready to go. So I made fast food out of it, but I had to invest the time preparing it.
Preparation is a really big key, and what I advise most dieters that are preparing to do my diet or any diet for that matter, set a start date, a legitimate start date. So write on your calendar when you're going to begin. Tell your family, tell your friends that you're making a lifestyle change starting on this date. Not only does that kind of ensure their support, but it also commits you to it. So if you're telling people about it, you're stuck. You got to follow through with it. Yeah. So preparation is the key to anything, but in weight loss, it's very critical.
What are some of the traits of people that you've seen that are successful with HCG? Like people like I lost 20 pounds. I lost that first 18 pounds it was in 18 days. I was losing at a rate of 0.9 a pound. So for a woman, I was actually losing at a very fast rate. What are some of the traits of people who are successful on it that you've seen?
Well, I think preparation is key, like I mentioned earlier. And I think one of the things that people need to keep in mind is that you need to kind of, you need to not be so result-driven when it comes to weight loss. You didn't gain all this weight in 30 to 40 days. You gained it over the course of a couple of years. Yeah. So you need to kind of readjust your mindset and just know that you're doing something right. Know that the results aren't going to be immediate. However, with HCG 2.0, they often aren't very much immediate. But losing 10 pounds in the first 5 or 6 days of this diet, you're not going to continue to do that for the remainder of the diet. It's going to slow down a little bit. You might have a stall for 2 or 3 days, when in fact you're not really stalling. You're still burning fat. Your body's just retaining some water weight. Don't get discouraged by those things, and don't be so result-driven. Just know that if you do this properly, I assure you, you will lose between 20 to 30 pounds in 30 to 40 days.
And the pounds, and don't forget the inches, because I promise you, the inches that melted off of me. I mean, I don't know about everybody else, but I have this mental image of myself. I like to think, I'm going for that black Barbie look. Sorry. Yeah. So it's like, hey, that's my mental image. And I got to watch my shape reform. I got to watch my gut go down. I had a little extra skin under my arm, the little fat there. I was like, how did that get there? And that was gone. The thighs got smaller. I was like, this is awesome. I mean, my goal is to always be able to wear a sports bra and shorts and have no one call the police. That's pretty much a goal I have.
We all got to have our goals.
Yeah, that's my goal.
People that have a lot of weight to lose. I actually do my diet every January. It's a bit of a detox. It's not that I have a ton of weight to lose, but I don't look like I did in my 20s. And that's what this really diet is good at. It's very good at. It's good at targeting your weight loss. So again, you maintain muscle mass and strictly lose from the places that you want to lose at. And it's great for everybody.
I took a picture and my friends were commenting because I was in the middle of the protocol and they were commenting on my legs because I was standing on this bridge and they're like, "Oh my God, look at your calf muscles." And I was like, I'm like, I can see them because the fat had been stripped away from them
Yeah.
and the muscle was retained. So I'm like, wow, my legs look good. I'm like, this is awesome. So I really am a testament to that idea that the muscle actually stays put, which is a big deal. My body began to look better even more quickly because my muscle was staying there and I'm naturally relatively muscular. So that was a super important part of HCG 2.0 for me.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny, a lot of the stomach stapling procedures, the gastric bypass, they're not as popular as they were, 5, 6, 7 years ago because it's more behavior control. It doesn't really have its intended effect because immediately after the procedure, people lose a ton of muscle mass, and then they start to slowly gain the weight back. So again, there's really no shortcut. The only way to sustainable weight loss is to educate yourself, learn, like you said, how to start preparing meals, healthy meals, and make it a family affair. Get the family involved, get the kids involved in preparing meals and stuff like that. If a kid, and again, taste is an acquired sense. So if you don't start your kids off at an early age eating healthy foods, eating fruits, eating vegetables, they're not going to like them when they get older. So make food the priority that it is. Yeah.
This is really life changing. I mean, I'm really having to tell you, you really can lose a crazy amount of weight very quickly inside of 30 days. And I will tell you, he mentioned the thing about the stalls. You do hit stalls. Like I said, I lost the 18 pounds in like 18 days. That last 2 pounds, honestly, it was like a week. I finally had to let it go. So you're right. I had to just let it go. I was like, you know what? I'm eating perfectly. I feel good. I look amazing. People are noticing me on the street. They're commenting, people don't think I'm 42. So I'm like, okay, you know what? It's doing what it's supposed to do. And I really had to let it go. And then the last 2 pounds came off right when I began maintenance. Go figure. But it's a life-changing thing, people. If you're listening right now and you're thinking, I've tried everything else, the reason that I would encourage you to try this, yes, it's worked for me, and this is the awesomest protocol, I think, out there, is also it's a detox, and he mentioned that briefly.
Yeah.
You stop eating sugar. It won't feel good for the first couple days, but by the time you finish your first month, you won't have sugar cravings. Like you won't have sugar cravings. When you finish, you won't want what you used to want. That got you fat.
Yeah. And that's kind of the topic of the book that I'm working on now. It's called The After Diet. And the word diet has mistakenly assumed a short-term connotation when your diet is your lifestyle. It's what you consume on a daily basis 24/7. Mm-hmm. So too many people attribute the word dieting to something very short-term when actually dieting is what happens after you lose the weight. So that's kind of what my new book is about. It's how to, again, we talked a little bit about it, how to address the things that led to your weight gain and how to maintain successful weight loss and a successful diet after you lose the weight.
Wow. Okay. So do you have the title for your new book set yet?
Yes, it is called The After Diet. The real diet begins after you lose the weight.
Well, see, and where is my copy? I've lost my weight. I need a copy in my hand so I
know. I'm very sidetracked here in Saigon, so there's a lot of distractions in Asia. But yeah, I hope to have it done. I was kind of hoping by the first of the year, but it's probably going to be like springtime.
Okay. Well, I'm looking because this is a big deal for me. This is my new lifestyle, and any tool that you can give to support, because really you got me through the weight loss, you got me to eat more vegetables, and to really take ownership of this new lifestyle. So if you're creating a tool that's going to continue to support this so I don't go back into that cycle again, that is definitely something that I want to get my hands on.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going for.
That's awesome. Now tell me this, where are we going for our free gift? Because if our readers, or if you're watching this and you're thinking it's just time, I just,
Yeah.
screw it. It's just time. I need to do this, and this is a way to go.
Yeah.
Where do they go to get a gift from you?
Okay, and that is the thing. If you second guess, by the time you readdress this, you might be another 3 to 5 pounds heavier. So don't do that.
Oh God,
Yeah,
he said it. He did. He called it out, and the holidays are
yeah,
coming, so you know
exactly.
that's going to happen. You're going to be
Yeah,
angry at yourself in January because you're going to be like, oh, if I'd have started then. Basically, you can look good for Christmas or not. It's completely up to you.
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly. So to go for the free gift, go to www.insideoutwellness.net/gift.
Okay, insideoutwellness.net/gift. Get over there, grab his gift. And like I said, if this is speaking to you, if you do the thing where you get out of the shower and you walk past the mirror and you won't look in the mirror because you don't like how you look, okay, been there?
Yeah,
Do that thing where I'm like just kind of not looking at myself. I look in the mirror. I'm like, hey, check me out. That is huge for my self-esteem to be able to walk past a mirror, feel good, to be able to put on any piece of clothing in my closet, to have children who are young enough to be my children looking at me and to be able to smile and say, no, sweetheart, I'm 42. So it is a huge, huge deal. I mean, this isn't just weight loss. This is about your self-esteem. It's about your health. It's about your longevity. It's about setting a model for your children. It's about everything. If you don't have your health, you don't have anything.
exactly. Yeah, you look great for 42, by the way, Tanya. That's terrific.
Yay! Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I feel really good. I do. And it has been an honor to talk to you because, like I said, God sent me you the night before my loading started, and I am so grateful that I found your protocol, that it worked for me, and now I'm just running around like bopping people on the head. And like I said, for my coaching clients, if they have weight to lose, I look at them and they say, I want to do this, and I go, no. We're doing HCG 2.0. That's it. That's what we're doing. That's the plan. That's what we're doing. We're not doing banana diet, the grapefruit chicken diet, the
Yeah,
eat food on Tuesdays and not Saturdays diet. I'm like, this one works. I don't know about
there
the
are
other
a
ones.
lot
This
of
one
fads
works.
out there, that's for sure. Yeah.
This is awesome.
Well, it's great. Yeah, it's great. I love hearing success stories. I love hearing from people that do well with this. It's a really nice luxury to what I do, and I enjoy it.
Uh, well, you are blessed and you are gifted. Thank you so much for sharing your time and your information. We're going to grab your gift. And if you are looking for some way to lose weight, I just say pull the trigger. Don't second guess it, and get to Dr. Zach and HCG 2.0. It's actually what I use. I'm a fan. So thank you, Dr. Zach.
Thank you so much, Tanya.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.